darkness shrouds the ancient ocean. Columns of bubbles quietly rise from the deep. And in an instant, a deep roar echoes through the sea, as if from a giant monster hidden for millions of years. On land, dinosaurs ruled every continent. But beneath the waves, there was an even more fearsome predator. A colossal creature with saw-like teeth, a body as long as a bus, able to swallow whole any animal that entered its sights. It was the king of the Cretaceous oceans, Mosasaurus, the true nightmare of the prehistoric seas. In the vast ocean of 70 million years ago, while dinosaurs still walked proudly on land, beneath the deep blue waves, another giant predator ruled the seas. It wasn't a dinosaur, nor a shark, nor any creature you might be familiar with. It was Mosasaurus, a massive marine reptile capable of devouring prey in a single bite, feared even by other predators. Imagine yourself sitting on a small boat in the middle of the ocean. Beneath the seemingly calm surface, a giant shadow moves silently. A fin sweeps across, creating whirlpools like an underwater storm. Then suddenly a body over 50 feet long bursts up from the deep, its jaws opening like the gates of hell, and in an instant everything is crushed. This was the moment countless fish, sea turtles, and even other predators faced every day millions of years ago. Mosasaurus was not just a big animal. It was the result of tens of millions of years of evolution, perfectly designed as an underwater killer. Even more terrifying was that Mosasaurus was not picky with its food. It could hunt fish, squid, turtles, smaller marine reptiles, and even cannibalize its own kind. In the ancient oceans, where survival was harsher than anywhere else, ruthlessness was the advantage that kept it on top. Fossil evidence shows that bloody battles once took place between Mosasaurus and other sea monsters like plesiosaurs or pliosaurs. But more often than not, Mosasaurus was the one to prevail, thanks to its overwhelming strength and clever hunting tactics. However, what made Mosasaurus truly special wasn't just its size or power. It was also that it became a symbol of a vanished era. When the Chicxulub meteor struck Earth 66 million years ago, triggering mass extinction, Mosasaurus, along with all dinosaurs and countless marine species, disappeared. Had that fateful event never happened, perhaps today we would still be sharing the oceans with these 30-foot-long sea monsters. And that's why Mosasaurus captivates the human imagination so strongly. But what if Mosasaurus still existed today? Would the modern ocean, with great white sharks, blue whales, and even humans, still be the true rulers? Let's dive deeper into the story of this prehistoric king of the seas to find the answer. When people mention Mosasaurus, many assume it was a giant sea dinosaur. In reality, Mosasaurus was not a dinosaur, but belonged to an extinct group of marine reptiles. Compared to animals alive today, its closest relatives are not sharks or whales, but rather monitor lizards and snakes. This may sound strange, but fossil evidence and anatomical studies show they share many evolutionary traits. Mosasaurus lived during the late Cretaceous period, about 82-66 million years ago. This was a time when sea levels were high, flooding vast stretches of land and forming massive inland seas. It was in this environment that Mosasaurus evolved and became the ruler of the oceans. In terms of size, they were truly enormous. Adults could reach 50 to 60 feet long, about the length of a double-decker bus. Their body mass could reach up to 15 tons, making escape nearly impossible for any creature caught in their sights. The body structure of Mosasaurus was proof of a perfectly engineered predator. First was its massive jaw filled with dozens of sharp teeth, curved inward. This structure allowed it to grip prey tightly, even when the strongest creatures struggled to break free. Uniquely inside Mosasaurus's mouth was another set of teeth deep in its throat, a feature also found in modern snakes. Thanks to this, whenever it bit into prey, Mosasaurus could use these extra teeth to drag the victim down its throat, swallowing it whole without needing to tear it apart. Its long, muscular body allowed it to move swiftly in the water. At first, scientists thought Mosasaurus swam clumsily, like a giant lizard. But recent research shows it had a fluke-shaped tail, similar to a shark's, allowing sudden bursts of speed for surprise attacks. This means Mosasaurus was not just massive, but also extremely dangerous thanks to its stealth and explosive power at the right moment. Another fascinating detail is that Mosasaurus could surface to breathe, much like modern whales. Though it lived entirely in the ocean, it was still a lung-breathing animal, not a gill-breather like fish. Beyond its power, Mosasaurus was also remarkable for its diversity. Its relatives included dozens of species, ranging from small ones only a few feet long to the true giants that dominated the seas. However, Mosasaurus hoffmanni, the most iconic species discovered in Europe, is often considered the apex predator. It became the star of many films and documentaries, thanks to its terrifying yet mysterious appearance. When compared to modern predators like great white sharks or saltwater crocodiles, the difference is staggering. A great white shark is usually about 20 feet long and weighs 2 tons, barely a third the size of Mosasaurus. Even orcas, the apex predators of today, pale in comparison to the Cretaceous sea monster. To understand why Mosasaurus could dominate the ancient oceans, we need to examine every detail of its body. This wasn't just a massive animal, but a sophisticated killing machine, where every part served one purpose: to chase and destroy prey. First, let's look at its teeth. Mosasaurus possessed conical, razor-sharp teeth that curved inward. But the special feature lay in their arrangement. Each tooth was loosely set in its socket, allowing it to fall out easily when worn or broken, then be replaced by a new one growing from beneath. This mechanism kept Mosasaurus's bite sharp as new, ready for repeated attacks. Inside its mouth, an extra row of teeth deep in the throat acted like hooks, dragging prey gradually down into the esophagus. This was an extremely rare mechanism in animals, and today it is only seen in snakes. The skull of Mosasaurus was also a masterpiece of evolution. Its jaw joints were not fused tightly but could expand, enabling it to open its mouth at a very wide angle. Thanks to this, Mosasaurus could swallow massive prey whole instead of tearing it into pieces. Although its bite force has not been precisely determined, reconstructed models show it was powerful enough to crush turtle shells or large bones. Next came its system of flippers and tail. Mosasaurus had 4 limbs modified into short but sturdy flippers. The front flippers helped with steering, while the rear flippers aided balance. The true power came from its long, flattened, crescent-shaped tail. When whipped strongly, it generated immense thrust, allowing Mosasaurus to surge forward suddenly for surprise attacks. Many studies suggest its movement resembled modern sharks more than lizards, combining speed with agility, enough to chase prey over short distances. Breathing ability was also a crucial factor. Despite living underwater, Mosasaurus had lungs, not gills. This forced it to surface after each dive. But don't mistake that for a weakness. It likely could hold its breath for many minutes, perhaps tens of minutes, similar to modern whales. This allowed it to dive deep, stalk prey from the seafloor, and then burst upward in ambush, a tactic great white sharks also use today. Another often overlooked but important factor was its skin and scales. Rare fossilized skin impressions show Mosasaurus had small, tightly packed scales. These scales not only streamlined the body to reduce drag while swimming, but also served as protection against impacts or bites from rivals. As for coloration, science still has no definitive answer. However, many researchers speculate Mosasaurus may have had gray-blue or dark blue tones, similar to sharks and orcas, for camouflage in the ocean. Its dark back would help it blend with the sea surface when viewed from above, while its lighter belly made it harder to detect from below. A type of camouflage called countershading, very common among modern aquatic predators. Regarding senses, the large eye sockets suggest Mosasaurus had good vision, even in low-light conditions. This would be useful if it hunted in deep waters or on gloomy days. In addition, it likely could sense water vibrations, similar to the lateral line in fish, allowing it to detect moving prey from afar. If we had to compare, Mosasaurus could be described as a fusion of a snake's jaws, a shark's tail, a whale's lungs, and a crocodile's instincts. All of that combined into a massive body stretching tens of feet long. That is why, throughout the final millions of years of the Cretaceous, Mosasaurus reigned at the top of the food chain, with no rival strong enough to challenge it. Indeed, no creature in the same environment could match its power, speed, and ferocity. Mosasaurus's hunting strategies were highly diverse, which is why it maintained its position as number one in the food chain. One of the most common tactics was ambush from below. Like today's great white sharks, Mosasaurus often swam deeper than its prey, hiding in the shadows. When the moment came, it used its powerful tail to burst upward from the depths and seize its victim. That bite usually ended things so quickly that the prey had almost no chance to react. Beyond ambush, Mosasaurus could also engage in direct chases. With its long, muscular body, it was fast enough to pursue large fish and even sea turtles. Its short but sturdy flippers gave it agility to change direction, creating tense underwater pursuits. Once the prey was exhausted, Mosasaurus needed only a single bite to finish the hunt. What made many other species wary was Mosasaurus's wide-ranging diet. It was almost never picky. From small fish, giant squid and ammonites, to sea turtles and even plesiosaurs, all could end up on its menu. Fossil evidence even shows Mosasaurus was willing to eat its own kind. In the ocean, where survival competition was brutal, cannibalism was not uncommon, and Mosasaurus seemed to exploit every chance to refuel. Some other apex predators of the time, like long-necked plesiosaurs or giant pliosaurs, could occasionally confront Mosasaurus. But in most cases, Mosasaurus still held the advantage thanks to its body structure and attack strategy. Plesiosaurs had long necks to reach for fish but lacked strength and speed. Pliosaurs had powerful bite forces but were more geographically restricted. Mosasaurus, with greater agility and adaptability, expanded across oceans from Europe and North America to New Zealand. Interestingly, the dominance of Mosasaurus also influenced the entire marine ecosystem. When one species sits at the top of the food chain, it determines the fate of those below. Mosasaurus controlled populations of sea turtles, large fish and other creatures, keeping the ecosystem balanced. Without it, some species could have multiplied uncontrollably, disrupting natural order. Even as the undisputed ruler of the seas, Mosasaurus did not always live in peace. The Cretaceous oceans were a harsh battlefield, where the strong were not guaranteed victory every time. Around it existed other massive creatures, ready to compete for food or even engage in deadly clashes. The first rival worth mentioning was the plesiosaur, the long-necked marine reptile. With its slender neck, it could reach out to snatch schools of small fish or squid. Though it lacked the brute strength of Mosasaurus, the plesiosaur's agility and long reach sometimes made it an annoying threat, especially when hunting in groups. A bite to the neck could take down a plesiosaur, but if Mosasaurus missed, it risked counterattacks on its less protected body parts. An even more formidable opponent was the pliosaur, a close relative of the plesiosaur, but with a short neck and an extremely powerful bite. Some pliosaurs reached nearly 40 feet in length, with massive jaws strong enough to crush thick bones. If plesiosaurs were cunning bait snatchers, then pliosaurs were heavy warriors, capable of going head-to-head with Mosasaurus. A battle between these two would certainly have shaken the seas. In addition, there were also giant prehistoric sharks and massive sea turtles. Sharks couldn't compete in size, but with their agility and large numbers, they could injure young or wounded mosasaurs. Sea turtles weren't predators, but they were tough prey. Their thick shells could withstand strong bites, forcing Mosasaurus to attack repeatedly to bring them down. To picture it more vividly, imagine a hypothetical duel, an adult Mosasaurus against a giant pliosaur. Both were apex predators, but their strategies were very different. The setting, a coastal sea, sunlight filtering down to the sandy bottom. The pliosaur swims slowly, its sharp eyes scanning for prey. Suddenly, from afar, the massive shadow of Mosasaurus appears, gliding through the blue water. Both recognize each other's presence. In the ocean, where there was no room for shared dominion, battle was inevitable. Mosasaurus used the advantage of its fluke-shaped tail, lunging forward with astonishing speed. It clamped directly into the pliosaur's side. But the pliosaur was far from weak. With terrifying bite force, it swung its head and seized Mosasaurus's front flipper. The sound of cracking bones echoed underwater. Blood spread into gruesome red streams. Yet Mosasaurus's long, flexible body gave it the upper hand. Twisting itself, it used its secondary throat teeth to lock firmly onto its prey. With a violent tail whip, it spun its body, a tactic similar to the death roll of modern crocodiles. The pliosaur, though powerful, gradually weakened under the relentless spinning of its rival. Within minutes, Mosasaurus had subdued its opponent, turning it into a colossal feast. This battle was not only a fight for survival between two individuals, but also a reflection of nature's brutal law in prehistoric times. The better adapted species would rule. Mosasaurus may not have been invincible, but its diverse hunting methods, body strength, and adaptable tactics often brought it victory in such clashes. Yet despite surviving countless savage battles in the ancient seas, Mosasaurus could not escape its greatest enemy, a cosmic catastrophe that erased its entire world. Around 66 million years ago, Earth went through one of the most catastrophic events in its history, the mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous. This event ended the reign of dinosaurs on land and also wiped out the giant sea monsters, including Mosasaurus. The main cause identified by scientists was the Chicxulub asteroid, about 7.5 miles in diameter, slamming into Earth at terrifying speed. When it struck the Yucatan Peninsula, modern-day Mexico, it released energy equal to billions of nuclear bombs. The impact created a colossal crater more than 110 miles wide and triggered tsunamis hundreds of feet high that swept across the oceans. For Mosasaurus, this catastrophe was almost a death sentence. Within hours of the impact, countless individuals may have been swept away by tsunamis or suffocated as the water environment was disrupted. But the tragedy didn't stop there. Billions of tons of dust and vapor rose into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight for months. Temperatures plummeted and phytoplankton, the foundation of the ocean food chain, were devastated. Once the first link vanished, the entire marine ecosystem collapsed in sequence. Smaller creatures sometimes had a chance to survive by being omnivorous or hiding, but for a giant predator like Mosasaurus, it was a different story. It needed massive amounts of food every day to stay alive. When fish, turtles, squid, and other predators died off in droves, Mosasaurus lost its energy source. A creature nearly 65 feet long couldn't survive on scraps in a dying ocean. In addition, the sudden environmental changes delivered more shocks. The seas likely became colder and more acidic due to excess carbon dioxide from global wildfires. All of these changes worked against Mosasaurus. Within just a few thousand years, a blink of an eye on the geological timescale, the entire colossal lineage disappeared from the planet. Remarkably, it wasn't just Mosasaurus, but all its relatives, along with plesiosaurs and many other marine reptiles that were erased. This event decisively ended the age of sea monsters and opened opportunities for new species. After Mosasaurus vanished, the oceans gradually became dominated first by sharks and later by whales, the rulers of today's seas. From an evolutionary perspective, the death of Mosasaurus was both a loss and a turning point. a loss because it marked the disappearance of one of the most extraordinary creatures nature ever produced. But also a turning point, because the gap it left behind allowed many groups of marine mammals to evolve, including the distant ancestors of whales and dolphins. But what if Mosasaurus hadn't gone extinct 66 million years ago and still survived today? Just imagining a creature over 50 feet long, weighing many tons, lurking beneath the waves is enough to unsettle anyone heading out to sea. First of all, the presence of Mosasaurus would undoubtedly change the modern ocean food chain. Today, the great white shark is considered the apex predator, about 20 feet long and weighing 2 tons. But next to Mosasaurus, a great white would look like nothing more than a snack. A Mosasaurus could swallow a great white shark in an instant, just like the scene in Jurassic World that shocked audiences worldwide. If Mosasaurus still existed, sharks would no longer hold their title as rulers of the seas. They would likely become prey in the eyes of this ancient sea monster. Compared to the blue whale, the largest animal ever to live on Earth, Mosasaurus still fell short in size. Adult blue whales can reach 100 feet long, twice the length of Mosasaurus, and weigh more than 150 tons. However, blue whales feed on plankton, not predators. This means that if both coexisted, they would not directly compete. But imagine a Mosasaurus lurking beneath a pod of blue whales. Just one stray calf could become its target. The ocean would then be a terrifying battlefield, where even the planet's largest animal wouldn't be truly safe. For humans, things would be far more complicated. Today we have advanced technology for seafaring, ships, sonar, weapons. But if Mosasaurus still roamed the deep, would people dare to sail fishing boats, swim, or dive among coral reefs so freely? The shipping industry and marine tourism would likely have to change completely. A sea monster as long as a bus, capable of striking suddenly from the depths, would be a terrifying threat. The ocean, already mysterious, would haunt humanity more than ever. However, science also shows that for a creature like Mosasaurus to survive in today's world would be extremely difficult. They needed an enormous amount of food daily, while many modern large fish and sea turtles are already overexploited by humans. Intense competition and heavily polluted oceans would make long-term survival nearly impossible for Mosasaurus. If it were alive today, it might be considered an endangered species, just like many other giants that have vanished throughout history. But if it did survive, Mosasaurus would surely become a cultural icon of the modern world. Humanity would be haunted by the image of a colossal sea monster lurking in the depths. There would be documentaries, legendary monster hunts, and dangerous expeditions to capture footage of the creature. Much like our fascination with the Loch Ness Monster, except this time, it wouldn't be legend, but a real animal offshore. Most importantly, Mosasaurus could completely reshape our view of humanity's place in nature. Today, we are confident that we dominate the planet with unmatched technology and knowledge. But a single encounter with Mosasaurus would remind us that there are powers in nature far beyond our control. Mosasaurus disappeared with the age of dinosaurs, yet its shadow has never left our imagination. The oceans today may seem calm, but who can truly say there are no secrets hidden in the deep? Perhaps somewhere in the ocean's darkness, a king still waits in silence. What do you think?